oh, well, that principle is this, that principle is it, you know, and I totally related it to Tai Chi and Qigong and where I am. And it's beautiful. And you, the humanness is like the Tai Chi. It's the space in which all things are a part of everything else. And there's that symmetry, the balance, you know, that Tantra speaks about. And beyond that, there's like the vastness of what was before now, you know, I mean, like the ether, beyond the ethers, you know, and then there's the ground, and we're in between. Life is all around us, but we're navigating that. So we are the Tai Chi. We are a part of everything else. We are meant to be in that balance within the wide spectrum of experiences and expressions of our original design. And wow, to get that in my body through time, I love it. I highly recommend anybody to try it.
We decided just to sneak in because we were just having such a rich conversation. We decided it was almost Halloween, so this could just be our trick or treat for all of you. You know, it's why I took on Tai Chi, Lori, because I had to embody. And I was, you know, I've been a walking channel for, you know, probably 77 years. And working with my Shifu, really, and the way she worked it, really gave my body a wisdom that I couldn't have had through my mind. I don't think it comes naturally to modern people.
Well, it doesn't to me.
Well, you can't individualize yourself out because it doesn't come. There are more people it doesn't come to than there are people it does.
Okay.
So it's what we were talking about earlier about it's a rain that rains on almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not personal to the individual. We're a bubblehead society.
Yeah.
You know,
we've been raised up that way to hold the mind as wholly above all things, and that when we experience something from the heart, from the spirit, from the body, that what we are to do is to manage it, control it, stuff it down, ignore it, tough it out, right? I mean, you know, how many movies are about, you know, grin and bear it and then you'll make it to the right? I mean, it's, you know, so that, and this is part of a conversation we were having with a group of us last night as well, this whole notion of the wisdom of our indigenous nature, because when you are with people, you know, First Nation people, they still have that wisdom, they still respect that wisdom, they still honor that wisdom, and I think they're a little bit confused that we have just jettisoned it. And it's no surprise then that we get the results that we get, and that we have massive levels of depression in the world and all that sort of, because we've been living as a disembodied head, and we're not designed to be that. We're designed to be a full being, integrated within ourselves and with each other.
I'm going to keep the trick or treat going on because we're also in the collaborators, which is this we plus Liz, who's not here. She's with her family in Franklin, Tennessee, where I spent a lot of time with myself and my family. But one of the things we have been doing is evolving, which I want to introduce as a concept here. One of the agreements we had that we would put our name on our pictures, and then we would put our company or our title. So I'm now pausing till we do that, because otherwise we're going to look like full authorities. We've got it together and you all don't. And we're going to show you how to be what we already are, but it's not the case at all. Not the case at all. That's why I wanted to slide us over, and just because we just started into a gaggle within 2 seconds of getting, and we look like a gaggle, like the geese that climb on top of each other, busy talking, and we adore each other. We do this as much for ourselves as we do for others. So everybody will shift into their title or their company, so that we're representing. Lori was talking to me earlier. There's a video that Liz and I did, I think about a year ago now, and about this concept of the possibility of right relationship with something. So is what's happening to you personal, like in your face, or is it something happening to you and another, or you and a group of others, a we, or is it happening to them, like Israel and Gaza and the Middle East? Or is it happening to us, all the theys and the we's and the I's? Or is it happening in the it, which is the greater systems of reality of which we're a part? And some of those have been made into religions or faiths. And the ability to see which place it's happening. With two clients I had yesterday, very, very accomplished people. They were really, really suffering. And then along the line, at some point I said, are you sure this is happening to you? Or are you empathically responding to what's happening to the world that you were part of building? And it looks like it's collapsing on us, all of us, like the world looks like it's collapsing on us. And I was saying to Lori earlier, the strangest thing happened. The suffering went away. Because once it wasn't their helplessness about they couldn't do anything personally, they realized that they were in the rainstorm with everybody else. And then how do you position yourself in a rainstorm to get yourself and others out of the rain, which is very different than a personal point of view. It's really something, we said it before we came on too, about what Lori was sharing about, which you should say a little bit more about after I say what I'm about to say. It would be great so we can acclimate a bit. But this idea of right relationship with occurrence, like what's missing that's having us experience something was suffering, where when you realize that you're caring about all of life, there's a strange shift in identity, because you're identifying with operating on behalf of all life. In that moment, you're shifting your consciousness, like cling, and then you notice that your constitutional presence starts to be about operating on behalf of all life, not what I can or can't do. And I watched that happen yesterday. And I know I sound like an authority mentioning it, but frankly, it took me by surprise. It was such a clear shift in consciousness into, oh my goodness, we got to quit suffering here. We're losing our juice to operate on behalf of all life in the midst of unworkability. So it's really remarkable. But Lori, would you just review a little bit about what you said about Tai Chi? Because I think what you and Jenna said about bobbleheads, or I said about bobbleheads, that we live from the neck up.
Yeah, and Tai Chi, it's that place that's within we are Tai Chi. Whether you practice or not, we are the container that is a part of everything else, and everything is a part of us. And when we build our capacity for creativity and presence, we're able to go into that broader, deeper, wider way of being with life. And you can build a capacity for the neutrality of being with the flow, rather than the tsunami or the tidal waves or what have you. you know, that happens through frequency. It happens through the movement of the body. Every single part is in relationship to every other part. So it just keeps building a foundation upon where we can navigate change. We can navigate the ups and downs of what's around us and connect deeper to like the power, the potential of all.
You know, I really, I go along with something is happening, something unusual. I had polio, so below my waist, my legs are weak and my hips are really functionally weak. And I had this great PT, which I've shared about before, that finally quit and got her own license. So we've been going to the park where Kevin my daughter's dog, tries to interrupt the sessions. But I basically do 8 movements that aren't any wider than this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the next day I hurt so bad that I literally have to take a day off. But the day after, I stand better, I walk better, there's less pain in the muscles, the tendons around where my hips and my legs go together. And that has been a wisdom that denies anything I ever conceptualized in my whole life, except it's working. And that little somatic movement could produce that big an effect. But for 2 reasons, is I'm 77 years old. And from the way we would have once thought, I like my hip doctor said, I should just expect to get my hip replaced. No comment. And but it defies my logic I was born into. It defies it. But it also means that I think our juices are starting to flow. Our consciousness juices, like you said, the vastness earlier. And for our consciousness to flow, it has to embody. The physical body has to give it a place. And I'm still stunned. To this minute, I'm stunned because I can just count on it. Do 15 minutes of exercise, hurt like hell, take a hot bath, go to bed. The next 3, because I can only do it every 3rd day now. For the next 2 days, I'm stunned at my balance. I'm stunned at my sense of, my core. And then it starts again, and it's not quite as bad as it was before. So we live in method. We think in method, fix it, how to fix it. And this is not method. Something's rising that is forcing embodiment and forcing these juices, these vastness to have a place in our body, including sickness, including not being able to tolerate things we could once tolerate. We don't like being toxic anymore. And this thing right here is evolving. That's it for me for now.
Oh, I gotta jump in, guys. I woke up this morning with my body system moving. Something is rising upon us, as you said, Tundra. And I know when I'm in this physical experience of it, it's not me. It's not personal. My head feels like it's a headache, the old paradigm thinking of it. But I know this place. I know this is the I, we, they, maybe it of what this conversation is for us, that my body is languaging it in its way of having conversation. And the capacity to be with it is what you both have been speaking to, that that we are in the practice is not the right word, but it's the one that's here. We're in the practice of building our capacity to be in the flow of it, to be the Tai Chi, to be the yoga. They're just 2 words saying the same thing. The embodiment of it And to know that it's probably a collective event that I'm in the experience of. That's my past experience saying it's probably something collectively that I'm paying attention to on a body level. So we are in the moment of it now, and my system is registering it, and I'm paying attention to the rest of our conversation to see what registers broader, deeper, wider, like Lori was saying. Enough for now.
So I just got over a bout of the worst food poisoning I've ever had. My hair is wrapped like this because I will be performing a play tonight that I've been rehearsing for several months. That's the thing I do. I'm an actor. And I have always had a very high bar for myself and a very high level of expectation for what it means for me to engage with what I consider one of my beloveds, which is theater. And this past week, we had a Wednesday night rehearsal. We were going to be doing a preview Thursday and then performances all weekend. And the food that I had to eat on stage was not properly stored. It was left so I'm here in Florida, so it was left in an 80+ degree theater of a mayonnaise sandwich. I ate it on stage, assuming that my director and my crew had my back. They did not. And I say, and that's relevant because through this whole process, I found myself oftentimes feeling at odds with the way that the director was doing something, but feeling like, because in my world, because I'm also a director, it's like the director is the director and you just let them be in charge and you don't challenge and blah, blah, blah. And so there were several times throughout the process that I did not challenge and I was just like, no, okay, I just have to respect the process. I have been performing for 40 years and I have only one other time missed one performance. And that was due to the sort of this one weird bout of vertigo that I had. But even in that one, I had dragged myself up. I said to my partner, it's not safe for me to drive, so you have to drive me to the theater. And then I got there and I couldn't walk unless I was leaning up against a wall. And my director was like, no, Janice. Well, this time I could not even get out of bed. For 3 days, I did not get out of bed. And I had to say each of the 3 days to my partner for each of the performances we had to cancel, I'm like, I cannot go on. I literally cannot stand up, and my body was telling me, nope. Whereas normally I would have been figuring out, okay, what can I do to get through? Where's the anti-nausea medication? Where's the, just loading up and grinning and bearing it. And my body was just no. And I went through this bout of guilt thinking, oh my gosh, I don't do this. I don't miss performances, and I had to get to the point of saying to myself, you didn't give yourself food poisoning. This isn't on you, sweetheart. But it was the first time in my life, I think, that I have ever let my righteous indignation be on behalf of myself. I'd only ever allowed it to be on behalf of other people. But if we are truly standing in the place that we are all connected, then there is no other. And of course, I should use my strength, stamina, and capacity on my own behalf, as well as on behalf of the collective, of the community of which I'm a part. But it took me not being able to get out of bed for 3 days to get to that point. But I definitely feel that I am on the other side of something now, and that I gained a piece of wisdom that will be mine for the rest of my journey on this planet. But I had to, I was forced into stopping and listening to what my body was telling me to be able to get there.
I'm hearing I'm hearing a lot about the magnificence of what it is to be human, or what it is to be alive. I don't have the yet I am saying yet to both you, Lori, and Victoria, the same body awareness and knowing. I mean, we each bring a piece of the puzzle, so I'll never have what they have, but moving into what they know is beginning, is happening. But I'm hearing in all the different ways it's been spoken, just the magnificence of human being. Like, from the psychology point of view, I'm hearing so many different ways that people are speaking a shift in story. And while in certain ways it's happening to us, it's not happening to us like we're passive or a victim. It's happening because of us at the same time. And we can say, like the people who were suffering when Tantra was speaking about those people, they were able to collaboratively engage with Tantra in a way that they said, there's something on the other side. The suffering was a embodiment of reality, and they're saying there's something on the other side. They changed their story. And while I hear that in a kind of a flat way in psychology, that is not what I'm experiencing now at all. At all. And I'm marveling at what's being said here. Just marveling. That's it for now.
Think about all those years where I would leave Tintagel, where Deb and I and others lived, and I would leave, and our final words would be, "Hope to see you on the other side." And I think that has more realness now than I think the beauty of being with all of you, and is that we get to be in a cultural conversation, watching the beginning of the unknown other side. Isn't it? It's not in language yet, but it's clearly an experience. Clearly, even in the thread we have, I'm not going to say where, and I prefer that nobody else say where people in the Middle East are able to share with each other. You know, we had just a brief a few days ago. We had this exchange where 3 sets of parties, some Muslim, some Christian, some Jewish, all were talking about we have one God. You know, we are of one God that loves all humanity. And somewhere that God got divided to be used against us. And when I had that event, you know, that's what I knew that God Angel wanted people to know. And the people in this group are literally fleeing bombs and death and finding out where to meet on a corner so somebody can get them out of the country. And they took time to be with each other and have this conversation. So my prayer for people, you know, we're approaching the Day of the Dead. You know, my prayer for people and myself is to let it die, everything that's turned us against each other and turned us against ourselves, and particularly what we're talking about here, turned us against life, where, you know, where there's a moral code that it's better to be deathly ill standing up performing than staying in bed to heal. It's just got to go. It's got to go. And that's why we started CreateAWorld. And just because there is life always, it's just in our head where there isn't life often. And we all share that pandemic. We all do.
One of the things that I'm interested in is watching how this, what I'll call it, against behavior rises, even in normal, in everybody. It's sort of like, well, it is. If I belong to a community group and sometimes the language gets to be, well, that person's really bad, they're against us. You know, and so they, instead of being with us, working together to create a better future, people go into the making somebody else the villain. And this sense that is present here of, if you're with something, you're no longer in that battle, and you create a larger space for everybody to get the kind of future they want. And I've been wondering how to work with that group, because I'm watching that behavior rise, that it's easier to be against something and make them the villain. And maybe, and it's probably because it is so, that energy is there in the Middle East. Let's make everybody, the other part, the villain, that is impacting people and how they're living their everyday lives. Or, so it's always like, I've been thinking about, how do I step back and hold a larger picture for what they want for themselves and the community group they're part of, that will allow them to go, wow, I really don't have to make so-and-so the villain. I just find ways to work with them so we can get what we all want. But it's a real, I'm watching it rise is what I'm interested in, is watching it rise. Because I didn't hear it before, but I've heard it a lot this week.
Well, because the thing is, if you have a villain, then you get to shift the focus off yourself, and you don't have to do the hard work, right? If I had simply, you know, continued to vilify my director for not taking care of me, I wouldn't have had to deal with everything that was roiling in me. I could have just, you know, spent my energy fuming at her, and yet I would have missed out on what was clearly this message that was needing to come through me, which was about my ability to take care of myself and advocate for myself. And because as long as I was treating myself as somebody not worthy of advocating for, I'm staying in that othering, right? I'm in that good, bad, right, wrong. And I think really what we're about here is getting to that, you know, that place that Rumi speaks of out beyond right and wrongdoing. And to instead say, how will I work with my director to make sure that the food that I eat this weekend is safe for me to eat, right? So that I can honor my commitment to my fellow actors and to myself, but to do it in a way that's healthy. But that's not how we've been programmed. We've been programmed to blame.
I'm just going to talk, because I want you all to talk more, not me, but this really beautiful man I know who's Buddhic, and he was talking to me a few weeks ago about the Buddhic phrase that the Buddhic design is to make enlightenment is when all needs are met. That is the basis of enlightenment. but that one cannot become enlightened if one does not know one's needs. You know, in regard, you all have heard me talk about the RV, the big mess out in my driveway. I just kept saying I need a hero, but the men that were my heroes couldn't help me. They were as helpless in the face of this as I was. And it was hard not to be mad at them. Like they should be able to help me. They helped me before, you know? But then my heroes showed up yesterday. It all started with needing to winterize my RV and noticing the text guy said, RV wiring man. And me saying, do you do wiring on RVs? He said, there's nothing I don't know about RVs and RV wiring. I don't need schematics. And all of a sudden that need, that Buddhic need, that God need, that divine need in my soul of I needed a hero. I had 3 of them show up. They call themselves the 3 Musketeers, all RV guys. But it's this, what I hear, Janice, I'm almost ready to cry, is that we trash our needs on behalf of function or being known or belonging or making a difference for others. And we lose our direct connection with Source that way. That's it.
So my need to be in the energy of this group superseded my need to stay in bed and be at the effect of a physical body occurrence. I knew I had a good chance of getting on the other side. And I'm tracking the movement of that in my physical system. And I knew that I'd be better here than I would be not being here. Just the same as you, Janice, knew you needed to take care of your being in a different way. It is the listening. And it is the sense of being a hero for ourselves too. I love how you brought the hero in. And I will give you my update on the landscape project. I just said, all right, I'm taking a break. I'm not going to get caught up in that I can't seem to get someone available to respond to my need for my backyard to be fruitful. And so I just shut it down and said, I'll do it next spring. Now I have 2 people responding that feels to me like it's an opportunity to be on behalf of my needs and their interest at the same time. And again, it's that I was looking for a hero that I wasn't paying attention to the needs in the way I might have wanted to. I was like in the function of it. That's a good word for it. I was in the function of it rather than embracing the what's to be revealed. Yeah.
Yummy. That's yummy.
That's yummy.
And that brings me or pings me to the whole be where you are when you're there. And allowing, the need, like it's being fully present to your needs and letting it go in a sense that you can be in each moment as it uniquely rises rather than holding that need as like the goal or the like I have a direction. It's not about the direction. It's what's your journey? How present are you creatively and with presence are you on your journey? And that brings us into you know, depth of frequency. It brings you in through stages of life. It brings, you know, it brings you into so many, the spiraling, and you know, it just brings you into so much more when we're like, can be present to what's going on and take a stand for our resource and connectivity, not only with ourselves, but through and with each other. That's when great stuff shifts, or the ease or the efficiency and the effectiveness of change can outweigh or kind of be more prevalent than the blame or the, like, you know, putting it outside yourself. How can you connect in to all of the people, connect into the center, center to center, life to life, and create from there, engage from there, be present with yourself from there?
I know you know this, but my daughter, you know, she's over Christmas, I'm watching the dog because she's going to the border to be with the immigrant crisis there. But she's so clear about being resourced. It's a phrase in the young culture. She's 40 in that culture age. And her living environment, because they sold to another group of people, she's been under-resourced. But she says it like I talk about Dakini. It is the problem. Dakini's not the problem. I'm under-resourced in regard to Dakini. That's the problem. And yesterday she came in. She'll shoot me if she watches this, but hopefully she won't watch it. Everybody pray. But she came in yesterday and said, Mom, you know, one of the new housemates cooked me dinner and loves to roughhouse with Kevin. And she said, here I go. I had no idea so little could make me feel resourced in my own home. And I said, you know, that's all I want for you. Yeah. So what you said, Lori, really hits home for me, that this ability to let ourselves know we are undersourced. And the word source is source. And that has to be the Tantra, the unity of heaven and earth. It just has to be. And it comes through human intimacy, human caring. That simple little thing gave not that simple, but that beautiful moment gave my daughter juice to continue to do what she does, you know? So I'm very touched by what you said.
And because when we're in that place, then we all have infinite amounts of support to give to each other, right? I mean, if we take it from well, there is this problem that must be solved in this way, versus can I be with another in their need in that moment, I'm always going to have something I can offer. It may not be all of what's needed, but I think of all of the the quote unquote at-risk kids that I worked with over my teaching career, and how often what they really needed was to feel like somebody was actually listening to them and actually cared if they were okay. And I couldn't solve all their problems with a wave of my wand, but I could take 5 minutes and say, let's step out inside and let's have a quick conversation. I could do that. And I think part of this evolution that we're in is reclaiming our strength, stamina, and capacity to do that one little thing in the moment that's going to have a ripple effect that we can't even quantify.
I just, last night, some of us had a conversation about epistemology. How do you know what you know? And that's not just mental knowing, like whatever subject you're talking about. It is what's being presenced here of what moves you forward and how and in what ways. And everybody here is relaying a new way of knowing, being, that's rising. And it's just glorious.
Oh, Deb, thanks. I feel the movement in us, and I feel the movement in me in being present with you, Tantra, in the story of your daughter, and the presence of you emotionally fully embracing the simplicity of what it is to be with another, as you were with her. And then as Deb was emotionally present to you and responding, and I'm feeling the fullness of us all responding in our unique ways to a story. And I don't remember who said it, but we've been talking about the story is more than what we're talking about, that it's, do we let bubble up the fullness within the story? And that's what we just been in the experience of, the bubbling up of the fullness of it. And I think sometimes we forget to presence what it means to hear another story, to be with them, and to say, I'm completely moved by your own feeling of being touched and being present with your daughter. And I'm completely moved, Deb, by your complete willingness to be in the full emotion of when Tantra shares emotional things, that I see you in that all the time, that there is a story in you that you're completely absorbed and touched by what moves Tantra, and you allow yourself to be fully embraced in that. And I think that's the honoring and how we source and resource each other. And sometimes we forget to actually presence that with each other. So I wanted to make sure that I did that, because that's important for me to say that.
Deb, before you speak, there's a tradition in New Mexico. I had someone come down and visit me from Colorado, but the native jewelers sit on the ground in Old Town. But every now and then one will get up and he'll start, in this case, he will start to tell his whole story. And it's the way they acknowledge your value to them. And yet they've never met you. They don't know who you are. And I was with someone else up in Santa Fe, and she was trying to cut him off so they wouldn't tell the whole story, which lasted about 20 minutes. And I pinched her in the hip because she wasn't going to move, because we were getting honored by the story. And the person I was with actually organized the FBI and the CIA. She's an old client during 9/11, when I was let's just say I was sharing some things, dreams I had. And this person knew to stand there listening to his whole story. And that's what the beauty is, in the characters we are in a full story, not how we dealt with it, not how we opinionate it, not how we even function in it. And what we were talking about before I put us on record and flipped us over was we were really talking about what if we could view ourselves as we're all part of a much larger story than we can get in touch with in our everyday life. Deb, sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to put that in.
It's fine. And Victoria, I appreciate what you said, and I want to make sure, you know, I've known Liana since she was, I think, 6. So what Tantra shared is very moving, but I'm responding to all of you. And something I don't know how to put words to is, so I'm just going to say it this way: the God of us, in us, has taken enough root. If you all were little plants, little seedlings germinating, you'd be getting your first set of true leaves. The first set of leaves that comes out, every seedling pretty much looks like every other seedling. And then comes their little true leaves. And that we've come that far is what I'm responding to.
It's because we are steeped in rich soil as collaborators of CreateAWorld, engaging globally. I mean, it's like a no-brainer.
Because of who we are. I know I'm talking over top of you, Lori. God bless you. I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry. It's because of who we are that's happening right now. Yes, the soil is rich, but it is not rich for many. It is not. That is not rich soil for Janice to get food poisoning. It isn't. And there was a catalyzing effect, which included who she is as what Barbara Marx Hubbard used to say, a godling in the sunlit garden of creation. It's not a nice idea. It's not a lovely storyline, and it is. It is who we are. And it's happening right now.
Deb, say more what you mean by who we are, honey.
I didn't bring enough tissues. I don't say it differently, Tantra. I didn't register what you're saying.
So you keep saying it's who we are. For you, who are we? And what are we experiencing that you're so emotionally moved by?
We are God's children, period. That gets said in a religious way. But imagine if you were saying, I'm my mother's child. You know, historically, like, I don't know, how do I say that to gives people, we reference from, I'm from such and such a family, or I'm from a long line of whatever.
And what if it was favorable? You see, we've made our lineage sorry, I just about blew it in my sentence. Let me re-say. Something has happened to human beings. It has made our lineage unfavorable.
Yeah.
And yet the lineage is why we're here. And I don't mean just human lineage. I mean the lineage that made our matter, and the lineage that made our mind, and the lineage that made our emotions and made us, the lineage of creation that made us. That's what I hear in your speaking.
Yes, because to say we're God's children probably throws a lot of people into some reaction to religion. But that's not how I experience it. And we are children of creation. That's waking up. That's waking up. That indigenous knowing is waking up in those of us that have been adapted to whatever, or have adapted ourselves, or I don't know. It's like when seeds go dormant and then a fire is what wakes them up. you know, a piece of forest fire is what activates certain seeds. What is it? Certain pine trees or whatever. And until the fire happens, they don't wake up. And that's fine. That's the way it's designed, and you know, that's the way it goes. And there's enough of that happening in humanity right now that all the ways that humanity's been, English is not useful here. The ways that that has been pushed down and shaped into something else is shape shifting now back into what it has always been. Did that get close enough? I don't know how to.
One of our viewers just wrote, reading a book called Behaving as If the God in All Life Matters.
Yes.
It speaks to this. And
Yes.
I'm actually going to take this moment to really thank all of you viewing. I know it's a habit to watch a video, but we're asking if you can to engage with each other. You know, when you're watching the YouTube, there's no names. It isn't like you can see our names, you know, on the screen. But when you go into the chat and you say, hi, I'm from, you know, Holland, Michigan, it makes it is this flavor that we created CreateAWorld for, is so that we can be with each other in the field of creation. So I noticed there's a little bit more movement in people saying hi, and where I just want from all of us that you contribute to us. You know, that viewer just gave Deb something she couldn't bring to words.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And of course, I can't get that song out of my head. What if God was one of us?
That's it.
Just a slob like one of us trying to find his way home. Just a slowly rolling stone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what's waking up. And what we've covered all that with, all the layers in a seed. There's a lot of layers in a seed, no matter how tiny or big. And the layers are things like the stories of suffering. I'm not saying suffering's not real, because I would not do that to the people in the Middle East or the people who are marginalized and all those. But that's not who we are. And those stories are having to slide off to I think I need to stop talking. That's as far as I can go.
Suffering is a plot point, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story.
And we only suffer over what matters. I haven't seen people suffering unless life matters. You know, I do see people so at the effect of hate that life stops mattering. And I also want to, because I'm the one that manages the chat, everybody. It's not like they see because I copy it over into our chat, okay, the rest of us. But I really want to promote the deep meaning it has for us that you engage with each other in the chat. And in that way I can copy over, and it doesn't matter if it's just, we aren't promoting ourselves. We want a conversation that is connected to who we be now in the presence of what is occurring in our personal lives and in our global planetary lives. Just like real people that would sit around in a cafe and the table next door overhears the conversation and butts in, do you know, and butts in. Because it is what, for me, what Lori said about it is the rich soil that we can bring. Not, I don't mean we the collaborators, I mean we as human beings. It's the rich soil that we as human beings can bring. We can offer conversation that enriches and isn't directional or trying to get people to hear things right, but the rich relationship of being together in a field. And does anybody remember when this started? We've been looking, this is the second week that we're having a different feel in the people that are coming on and watching the conversation. And it may seem like practically nothing. You know, it may seem like just a little dewdrop, like you were talking about, Victoria, just a little moment in time, but it's just really exciting to be people together. And so I'm taking advantage of the beautiful, all of you watching and some of you chatting, and just even to put your name in and where you're from, give yourself a presence. And because in that presence, something becomes available that isn't available without you there. That's our advertisement for the for this Create a World. Our promo. You're our promo. We have about 4 minutes, everybody. And who wants to? Yeah, Lori, go.
That totally brings us full circle to what Janice said about operating with our original design, and how beautiful of a tapestry that creates when there's all of that uniqueness. I appreciate it all coming back around.
I just have to presence. I was in conversation with others yesterday, and I pulled out an old Dolly Parton song that no one knew. And maybe you'll know this one, Tundra. It's The Coat of Many Colors. And I'm just in this joy of we're all one of those little pieces of fabric in the coat of many colors that tell the story that lies beneath the story that we may think is the story, but that ain't it. So if you don't know that song, YouTube it. It's amazing.
I'll actually post it on the chat too.
Awesome.
I'll post it for the details or whatever the thing is that I don't know how to do that Christina knows how to do. 2 minutes. Who else? Milk it, as they say in the theater.
To me, this is all about coming to the moment, being in the moment, and reflecting the wholeness that we hold or that we want to be in that. And in doing that makes it available to everybody.
Yep. Beautiful. And for those of you chatting, we're all going to go look at your chat after we close off here, because now that you're chatting, I can't post it all fast enough here before we leave. And yeah, I think we'll just go out like we came in. We slid in, and now we're going to slide out. The last words I want to say is, let's let things die on Hallow's Eve. that it is time for them to die in us. And let us be born again on November 1st, regardless of religious connotations in my words. Clear that we're looking for new life that we've never lived before on behalf of ourselves, others, and creation. So happy